Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Too Real with Mike and Jillian.
Hey, that's going to be a great pre-roll. Is that what's the video prior to?
Yeah, when the title comes.
Yeah.
Right about here.
Yeah. We were talking ahead of time about I was not counting in line with the fingers that I was showing from the countdown 5 down, and then it went into this discussion of Janet Jackson. It's in Rhythm Nation, right?
Yeah, Rhythm Nation.
5,
4, 3. So if you're watching on YouTube, she doesn't we would think that you would go 5, 4. You would just keep going down the line, but she went 5, 4, 3 with the pinky up, then 2, 1.
Because she's Janet Jackson. And then I went into, it always reminds me of Wayne's World when they're shooting the show, and the 2 and 1, they're like counting in their head and they're nodding with it. But that's hi.
Hi. Just in case you forgot how old we are.
But
we're from that Janet Jackson, Wayne's World era.
Yeah, Gen X in the building. But welcome to Too Real with Mike and Jillian. We are Mike and Jillian Rosado. Glad you are tuning in with us. We promised in our last episode that we were going to film another episode immediately after that one, and we did not.
Life.
It is the next day. We're filming on a Thursday. Who are we?
Yeah.
What's happening? But we stuck to it. And I wanted to talk about something today. Mike and I, a lot of the times, this podcast stems from conversations that we're having. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times conversations that we're having is based off of things that we're processing. And I love the movie This Is 40. One of my favorite movies. And there's a line in the movie that Leslie Mann, the wife, says, who I love her, and I quote it all the time. And I'm like, I'm fun. I'm a fun girl. I am a good time Sally. Whenever I'm laying on the couch on a Friday night, doing nothing in my pajamas, I'm like, I can be fun. I'm fun.
Yeah.
And recently I've been having the conversation in my head, am I boring? Mm-hmm. And for people that have known me my whole life, yeah, I'm probably boring now, because I used to be wild child, out all the time. You would never find me at home. And now I'm
Then you hit 40.
No, even prior to 40,
even prior
I feel like around 37, I was I transformed into this homebody. And it takes a lot out of me to get me up and go out on a Friday night. But then sometimes I'll have these bursts of energy, and I'm I'm not boring. I'm fun. I'm a fun girl. I am a good time Sally, and we are going out tonight. And then an hour later, I'm yawning, are you ready to go home? Yeah. But just having this conversation of am I boring? Mm-hmm. Do you ever ask yourself that?
All the time.
Yeah. And
we get into arguments because not arguments, but healthy discussions. I don't feel I shouldn't. I was about to say I don't thrive in routine, but that's a lie. I hate routine. I don't prefer routine. Mm-hmm. I consider myself a pretty creative person, and so I function well when I'm inspired to function.
Yes.
Right. So.
And in these healthy discussions, he'll be like, I'm sorry, I'm not a robot. That's his line. And I'm nobody's asking you to be a robot, bro.
Right.
Relax.
Right. But I do recognize that there's benefits of routine and rhythms and that kind of stuff. But then sometimes I need the space to be when there's when lightning strikes and I'm inspired, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the hard things about even writing my book, because I know you helped me out with a schedule, okay, on this day, between these hours, I'm going to sit down and write the book. But if there's no inspiration, it's really hard. Right?
Yeah.
It's really hard.
It's called writer's block. It's a thing.
Right. But I'll get inspired, and it sucks. I'll get inspired at 11 p.m. Right. I'm oh, snap. I got this idea and that idea. And I'll start writing things down. And you're put your phone down. Right.
Because then the next day he's I'm so tired. I can't sleep. I'm because you have no sleep schedule.
Right.
You're messing up your circadian rhythms. And your phone's in your face at 11 p.m. The blue light is infecting you. And no wonder you're not sleeping.
Here we go. Line them up.
But I love that we're talking about boring and you immediately go into routine.
Mm-hmm. Well, because what really started this conversation, tell the truth, shame the devil. What really started this conversation, I don't know if you remember, was that you were and hopefully this doesn't offend our church people listening, but you said, hey, Sundays are starting to get a little boring to me. Do you remember you saying that?
Yeah, the monotony of we do
Right.
this, then we do this, and then we do that,
Right.
and then we do that.
Which was like shocking to me because you love routine.
Yes.
And you said, hey, our servants are feeling a little bored to me. And I took that to heart. And I was
I
like,
didn't mean that like the preaching or the music. I meant that like just the flow of it. It's just like it's
Yeah.
very predictable.
Yeah.
And if we want to inspire people, but we're giving them monotony,
yeah.
you know, how are we doing that? Do you know what I mean?
And so I went into defense mode, and it was just strange because I don't like routine and boredom, but I went into defense mode and started going, well, here's why we have routine, and here's why.
Yeah.
You know, and some of the reasons why people like boredom is because of stability and security. Like,
that's why I love it.
right.
Like
It's people, like, when they're coming in and their whole week has been like a hot mess, to come into a place and know, okay, they're going to sing these songs, then somebody's going to do this, then Pastor Mike's going to preach, and then pray, and then I'm out. Like, some people just love that sense of security and stability.
Yeah.
Because other parts of their lives are so hectic.
Yeah.
So this is how I started like defending this. And then also like me thinking about efficiency and productivity. That's why people like boredom, because
yes, that's
You-
reason number 2.
right.
Because
So
I
it's
do,
strange, 'cause
I
I'm
balance a lot in
Yeah.
my life because I do have a couple different roles. And in order to do all those things, I do need to be very routine and very structured, or else it's
yeah.
a show.
And I know I see it. I can see how it can increase focus and concentration. That's why dudes like, you know, Mark Zuckerberg or I think Steve Jobs did it, where they wear the same thing every flippin'
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
Why? Because it creates that mental space. I don't
But
have to
for
think
me,
about
that would
it.
be awful.
So you're boring in some areas, and you don't like routine in other areas.
Yes.
But I understand that part about the efficiency and productivity, and I also understand the part about the sense of accomplishment. Like, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you could check that box and go, I did that.
I love that
I
too.
did. I know you
love
do. Look at
checking
you.
off
Your
a
eyes,
box.
like,
I know.
if you're watching on YouTube, her eyes just lit up when it comes to that.
That's why I have so many to-do lists, because I just like checking stuff off.
Right. And this the emotional comfort that routine brings.
Yes.
Right. So most of you know that we're a mixed family. And Chase and I are more adventurous. Like, we used to live in the city, and we used to be like, yo, you want to go in the city? Yeah, sure. Let's go. And we would jump in the subway and go hang out and do something. No plan. Right? No
Yeah.
plan. And then bring in Jill and Hunter, my wife and stepson, and you guys are like, what do you mean there's no plan? Like,
It's not in the calendar.
It's not in the calendar. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, freaking relax. Like, just enjoy the ride. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I've realized that
That
you
was
guys,
that was a motto that we really tried to instill in Hunter, like, play it cool, go with the flow.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't go with the flow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it.
because you trained them so well.
Yes, yeah.
So I get it, but then it was weird hearing you say I'm bored with it, and so it sent me down this trail of thinking, like, well, why do some people need boredom, and why do some people hate it? You know, some people like the boredom because of the nostalgia. You know, we get crap too whenever we go off script on holidays like Easter and Christmas, right?
Yeah.
What do you mean you're not doing all these Christmas songs or hymns or, you know?
What do you mean you're preaching about the prostitute at Christmas?
I know, I screwed that up one year.
He got a lot of crap for that.
Right.
But that's fervent though too.
Right,
so
right. And so, you know, I understand even the nostalgia, and that's a part of the emotional comfort. But we, again, too real, Mike and Jillian. We even talked about it in regards to our sex life.
Oh.
And again, yo,
we're going there.
yo, sorry, our nephews, Jackson
Oh
and
my
Ryan.
goodness.
You can't listen to this one either. So even again, I'm a person that's pretty adventurous and stuff like that, but I found myself like saying, wow, is our sex life getting boring? Because, and here's why, I'm just talking for me.
Okay.
Doing the same thing, because I like that sense of accomplishment too. So I was just like doing the same thing. I know this works. I know this will
Wow.
get it. I know this will get it done. And that's why I've seen in a lot of marriages, like their sex life gets stale for that very reason. It's not that they don't want to, have passion and fire in their marriage. It's just that this routine and rhythm and those kind of things. Like
my face is probably like bright red right now.
But that rhythm and routine, it gets the job done. Come on, somebody. High five? No.
I'm dying right now.
You know, but
it's not boring for the record, but it does. You get into that flow.
Routine.
So switching it up is fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are I'll transition it quickly.
Yeah.
So those are the positives.
I'm 42 years old. Why do I turn into like a giggling fool?
Those are the positive sides of boredom. You know, the nostalgia, the comfort, the productivity.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a dark side to it, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, in that dark side, I found people that life just becomes uninteresting.
Yeah, and I feel like when a person dealing with depression, like boredom might be like one of the worst things, because it just you dive deeper into that, but that feels comforting at the same time. So it's hard. I've noticed when my mental health is lacking, when I'm like stressed out or upset or whatever, like I cling to routine, but sometimes I'll cling a little too tightly to it, and then like I become isolated.
Right.
And as much as it can help me in some areas, it's bringing me down in others. So it's kind of like finding a balance, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I need adventure in my life. So it's funny. I was just preaching about this last Sunday, I think, where when you avoid pain, and pain is just another word for discomfort, right? Mm-hmm. When you avoid discomfort, the definition of adventure is that you go from discomfort, you go from pain to victory, right? You go from discomfort to peace. That's what adventure is, right? So we routine puts you on the merry-go-round, but sometimes we need that roller coaster.
Yeah. You're stealing that from Ed Milet.
I did. Shout out Ed Milet. Did steal that from Ed Milet. But so that's the dark side of boredom. You could tend to lack stimulation. You could tend to lack that sense of adventure and excitement that we all long for every now and then, right? The other thing that I see that people, and I'm pointing at you, is if your life gets too boring and you find comfort in that, you start lacking flexibility.
Yes.
You can't adapt.
Yes. Yeah. I was thinking about it when you said like, let's just go in the city. If you like it was like a weekend and I was like chilling and you're like, you know what, let's go up to New York for the day. I'd be like, wait, what? But like I would, I would panic.
Right.
And that inflexibility in me, which I do recognize, for sure. Yeah.
And what does that do? So we long for boredom because because we have anxiety issues. But if you don't build this sense of getting used to moments where you're deviating from the plan, it increases your stress.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have increased stress because of deviation.
Yeah.
And you have no flexibility in your life, right?
Yeah.
So that's the other dark side of boredom. And I think the other dark side of boredom, and this is the part that kills me, that it does sometimes reduce my creativity and my innovation. There's sometimes I want to create and innovate, but if I'm around too many boring people, they're just like,
are you saying that
slow your roll.
I stifle your creativity?
No, you don't.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
you don't. But if I ever paint too far out the lines, that does increase your stress.
Yes.
Right?
Because I'm like, this sounds great, but also like, you need to shut it down a little bit.
And that's the exact phrase you say. This sounds great, but... which is the best thing a creative person wants to hear. This sounds great, but it does reduce that creativity. And you got to be careful too, because people with routine, I love you, but you get good at the routine, and your body, something called muscle memory, right? So when you do the same thing over and over again, your body finds more efficient ways. It figures out more efficient ways to do it. So when that happens, you stop growing. So there could be a spot in boredom and routine where you stop growing and you stop being challenged. Yeah. And your personal growth diminishes because you're not putting more weight on that bar. Yeah. You're lifting the same weight every single day. Yeah. And again, you're getting really good at it. Good for you. Yeah. But you're not growing in that. Yeah. So that sucks when it comes to boredom. So, but my question to you, Guru, here is like, how do you How do you balance it? What's the balance of boredom? Because there's benefits to boredom, but there's also a downside to boredom.
I think it is finding that that healthy balance. Because when you have routines and you have that boredom in like an intentional way, it creates space for you to be adventurous. And vice versa. If your life is all adventure, and you fall into this sometimes, because you reject like a daily routine, sometimes you're being so creative and so adventurous, but then there's stuff that like has to get done every day, doesn't get done, and then like Friday afternoon you're like, or Saturday afternoon or Sunday at 5 a.m. you're cramming to get these things done because they have to get done. But if you had that daily practice or daily boredom time set aside, it opens up that space. So I think it takes a lot of self-awareness, but it also takes a lot of intention for sure.
So self-awareness and intention.
Because like I can get real comfortable in my routine, and then I like sit around and I'm like, but what did I do for fun this week?
Right.
And I'm like, nothing.
Right.
Literally nothing. And me in the moment, I think that accomplishing everything on my routine list for the day, because I have one, that's fun. And it's not. And just like maybe having at the end of the week, a lot of people do this at the end of the week and at the beginning of the week. At the end of the week, reviewing what you've done all week and seeing like, did I hit my goals for the week? What did I do for fun this week? What challenged me this week? And then at the beginning of the week, looking through your week and just being like, okay, what is my goal for this week? Where am I going to fit in fun this week? Like some people, because they don't stick to like a fitness routine, they will go in their calendar and they will schedule when they're going to work out. And okay, did I do that? But like, when did we schedule fun also? There will be times that, when we've said before, our months are so crazy that we'll like block out a day on our calendar, like don't schedule anything. But like, we don't schedule anything. Like we don't schedule something fun for the two of us to do. We schedule like nothing. And then we end up doing some sort of work or like nothing like life-giving or exciting. And like, what would it look like if we switched that up? You know?
No, I like that. And as adventurous as I am, I experienced this last 2 weeks. I was just traveling a lot. And I think it was my last trip to Arizona. Remember, I came back and I was just like, I hate to say this, but I just need a routine. Like, I don't want to live out of a suitcase for the next couple of days. You know what I mean?
But think about it. That time of travel, you had gone up to Connecticut on a Friday night. You came home late Saturday night. Sunday morning, I left for California. I came home really late Wednesday night. You left first thing Thursday morning. Then you came back, and it was just like
came back to prom.
Came back to prom. And there was no time that we were just like, no, you went to Arizona twice. It was the first time. You came back and there was something else going on. I forget what. But like, there was no time for fun. It was just like, you come back and you get back into the grind, and it's like, okay, but this has all been work and we haven't had time to connect. And even this past week, you were in Arizona, you came back, then we had prom, then we had birthday parties, then we had Mother's Day. But there were like, and then every night this week you've been gone for something. And like, I'm like looking forward to this weekend to just like me and you do something. But like, when was the last time that we just like actually like we carved out the time for two of us and we planned something fun to do? Right. Not just our usual is let's just put on sweatpants and order Chinese food and catch up on Netflix. Like, and that it becomes routine, it becomes bored, and it can have both people like, let's experience something together. You know what I mean? So finding those, you may be carving out time with your significant other or personal time for yourself, but like, what are you doing with that time? Like, is it an intentional time? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like you said, I think the two biggest keys that you just gave us is that awareness, to be aware of your crazy schedule, to be aware of how you lean, right? If you lean towards boredom or you lean towards adventure, you kind of have to do a little bit, not too much, but a little bit of some overcorrection. Be aware and be intentional and create that balance. And let boredom serve you and you not serve boredom, right?
Yeah, because when you really get a handle on the boredom and you learn how to have that boredom serve you, you're creating space to have an adventurous life.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like you, I don't want the routine, I don't want this, but like you're actually setting yourself up for less inspired time because you procrastinate on the other stuff and you put them off. But like, what would it look like if your life, if you had the daily practices that had to get done, but you had like so much more space to be creative and to be adventurous?
Right.
And what if I let up on my crazy routineness and scheduled in time for fun? I feel like it's like when you go and get a massage and you're like, this was great, I need to do this all the time.
Right.
And you never do. But like, what if you like had those moments, this is great, we should do this more, and you actually in that moment was like, okay, if you're the scheduling type, okay, I'm doing this day every time. It's in my calendar. It's done.
Right.
Or if you, once you're in your extra adventurous space, you're like, wow, like I didn't realize I could have all this space. Maybe I need to start doing these things every day so that I have the freedom to do this when I want to.
Right.
I think that would be huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I think ultimately it's we allow the calendar to lead us rather than leading our calendars.
Yeah.
And creating the space for boredom and adventure because they could coexist.
Yeah.
And have them both serve you well, so that you could look back at your life and go, hey, I did what I needed to do, but I also had fun while doing it.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yep.
Yeah. So that is the balance of boredom.
Yeah. So if you're asking yourself the question, am I boring? Or if you're feeling like you don't have as much fun in your life, or if you're feeling like you're constantly like trying to catch up on life, like maybe start paying attention to these things.
Yeah.
See which way you lean and try to find that balance. Try to bring it towards the middle.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And we're going to air this next Wednesday, as we always do. So be sure to subscribe on YouTube or follow our podcast on whatever platform that you visit. So you'll get a notification of that. You know what's going on. Leave us some feedback. Give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Share whatever reels we're throwing up on social media if this is a podcast that you really connected with. Instagram, I'm at Jillian Rosado. Mike is at Mike Rosado. TikTok at Mike Rosado, at Jillian.Rosado. And yeah. That's all I got.
What a boring ending.
I always close it. Why don't you close it? Make it fun.
Make it fun and adventurous.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we're going to do a giveaway. No, I'm kidding. I wish that'd
goodness.
be a See, she just bugged out.
Like, what?
What are we giving away?
No, we're not.
Sorry, I was trying to be adventurous. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time here on Too Real.
Bye.
Peace.